Elon Musk is an election criminal and he should go to prison. That should not be a controversial statement. That is just fact. And what else is fact is that Elon Musk is everything Republicans claim to hate, but of course they embrace him with open arms. Elon Musk cheats at elections. Elon Musk rips off the government. Elon Musk is an illegal immigrant who is stealing jobs from you and I. That is what Doge was. So I think Republicans who are talking nonstop about election fraud, but specifically election fraud, of course that doesn't exist except for the Elon crimes that we're about to get into, in Georgia, specifically in Georgia. And that is where we have to start before we get into this breaking story of how Elon has not only exposed his own election crimes, but of course implicated his good buddy Donald as he is preparing to get back into electoral Republican politics. And I think as we are all talking about how Republicans are trying to steal the midterms, this story couldn't be more important. But of course it starts with what Chris Hayes described as the coup crew that Donald Trump is putting back together. It's where I want to begin before we get into the breaking Elon news.
Why are all the usual suspects from the 2020 attempted coup back in Trump's orbit now? Maybe to give it another run, to try to rig future elections in the name of the 2020 election. I mean, just yesterday, Donald Trump was complaining about winning more states in 2020 on the podcast of his former FBI number 2, Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino, who hated his job, apparently actually doing like government work and now wants to go back to podcasting. Trump adding, quote, "We should take over the voting in 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting." Now, that, of course, is illegal. It's a violation of all sorts of state, federal statutes and constitutional principles of federalism. But today, of course, Trump just doubled down.
What exactly did you mean when you said that you should nationalize elections? And which 15 states are you talking about?
I want to see elections be honest. And if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. But when you see some of these states about how horribly they run their elections, what a disgrace it is, I think the federal government, when you see crooked elections, and we had plenty of them, and by the way, we had them last time, but go to 2020 and look at the facts that are coming out, rigged, crooked elections. If we have areas, take a look at Detroit, take a look at Pennsylvania, take a look at Philadelphia, you go take a look at Atlanta, look at some of the places that horrible corruption on elections, and the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
Now, keep in mind, I mean, these are all lies, right? And this is a guy who has said he thinks he won California multiple times. I mean, it's like meeting someone and them telling you, like, they can fly like Superman. Or me just, like, telling you, like, oh, yeah, I'm 7 feet 4 inches. Like, what do you do with that? That's a person who is, I don't know, diagnosable in some way, something, right? This is the guy who told Georgia's election supervisor to find him 11,000 votes. He's worried about the states counting their votes. You can see why, right? Because they counted them accurately. So last week, Republicans unveiled a Make Elections Great Again bill to put new limits on voting by mail and voter registration drives, as well as mandate voter ID issued by the federal government, as well as new voter surveillance programs. Who's going to stop it? Well, definitely not the Speaker of the House, a guy who voted against certifying the 2020 election, who is an election denier, and got back to his election truther roots on Capitol Hill today.
I hate to sound like Donald Trump when I say this, and I feel like it is almost a direct quote, but he cannot win unless he cheats. That is what the polling is proving out right now. That is what the broad sentiment is showing, and if you are tracking any election, any special election that has happened since Donald Trump became president, the midterms are going to be a wipeout. Now, I don't know if we will win every single seat in the Senate that we are looking to. We have to fight in Alaska, in Texas, in Ohio, in Maine, in Georgia, yes. But when we are talking about flipping the House of Representatives, at this point, I think Mike Johnson's majority is all but done even before we get to the midterm. So yes, Donald Trump knows and is trying to interfere with our elections, which is important considering Elon Musk already did, not just in the checks that he handed out, but what he sent in his criminal campaign to get his buddy elected president and make him even more billions. Turns out there was voter fraud in Georgia by Elon Musk, the New Republic reports. The State Board of Elections found Musk's PAC sent pre-filled ballot applications. If Donald Trump's administration really wants to find evidence of foreign interference in Georgia's elections, then they need to look no further than the president's old friend Elon Musk and his shady super PAC. Members of the Georgia State Elections Board voted Wednesday to issue a formal letter of reprimand to Musk America PAC over the billionaire technocrat's illegal scheme to get Donald Trump elected. Georgia, a key battleground state in 2024, was the target of aggressive campaigning by Trump's team. In October 2024, the Georgia Secretary of State's office launched an investigation after receiving numerous numerous reports from residents across several counties saying they'd received partially pre-filled absentee ballot application from Musk's America PAC, according to John Furvier, the state elections board chairman. There has been evidence to suggest America PAC had violated a state law that prohibits any person or entity other than an authorized relative to send an elector an absentee ballot application pre-filled with the elector's required information, according to Janice Johnston, the SEB's vice chairman. America PAC had also failed to display in a conspicuous location that this was not an official government publication, was not provided by the government, and was not a ballot, Johnston added. The board swiftly voted to issue a letter of reprimand to America PAC. This letter comes weeks after Donald Trump suggested that his director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was spotting lurking around a federal raid at the election office in Fulton County, Georgia, because the investigation that she was looking into was related to foreign interference in elections. It should come as no surprise that the only evidence of meddling with people's votes came from Trump's own camp. The same thing happened in the 2020 election, too. So Elon Musk, an illegal immigrant who has stolen and gotten rid of jobs in America, was committing election fraud. Now, if I said any other name besides Elon Musk would be retweeting and sharing this video. Do we understand that? If this story was about anyone not named Elon Musk, right now, Elon Musk would be sharing this, but he is not. I also find it fairly significant that Donald Trump was carrying out this operation, I am sure in other states, but specifically in Georgia. Georgia so clearly holds a little soft spot in Donald Trump's heart because he was so embarrassed by losing it to Joe Biden because it was a state that had not been blue in so long. Donald Trump, I think, is still specifically hurt by losing it. It is why he talks about Georgia. It's why he raided, of course, that election facility in Georgia. And I also just think it's because Donald Trump believes he will have an easier time suppressing the vote of black and brown people, why he has targeted Atlanta, why he has targeted Fulton County, why he has targeted Georgia. But Elon, look, let's be clear, should be prosecuted. The next Democratic president needs to prosecute and deport Elon Musk. They need to freeze his assets. They need to nationalize his companies. I'm being so real right now. This is what I expect from the next Democratic president and nothing else. This isn't political. This is just what should happen if we want to rebuild our country from the mess that Donald Trump has left us with. That is the only option. He ran a crime syndicate in his campaign and in his administration. It is happening now. He and everyone else should be prosecuted. That is the bare minimum expectation that I have for any Democrat who wants to run for president or lead this party. Prosecute Elon Musk. And prosecute all of them. Because as Lawrence O'Donnell broke down in a great report, the crime, it is rampant.
The New York Daily News says, quote, "It is time to acknowledge what has become tragically obvious. The Trump administration is essentially acting as a massive criminal enterprise. It lies, steals, extorts, and murders, all while cloaked in the awesome authority of the state. It is on a crime spree that puts Al Capone to shame. This administration has murdered Rene Good and Alex Preddy, slandered them as domestic terrorists and assassins, and allowed their killers to walk free. Unleashed thousands of minimally trained ICE agents recruited with explicitly white supremacist messaging to inflict terror on people of color. Repeatedly violated the constitutional rights of citizens and non-citizens by arresting them for First Amendment protected speech, raiding their homes without judicial warrants and imprisoning them without due process, and killed dozens of civilians on the high seas solely on the unsubstantiated claim that they were drug runners, not that being drug runners would justify their summary executions without due process anyway. Released hundreds of imprisoned felons who brutally beat Capitol Police officers on January 6th, converted the once independent Department of Justice into an instrument of personal retribution via the prosecution of cooked-up lawsuits against the president's enemies, threatened to seize the territory of a sovereign nation, a NATO ally no less, and declared that legislators should be executed for reminding military personnel of their duty to disobey illegal orders. It is difficult to comprehend the level of state-sponsored criminality we are witnessing because our country has never experienced anything like it. And the Daily News did not even include in its description of the most powerful crime syndicate in history all of Donald Trump's violations of the emoluments clause to enrich himself, including accepting the gift of a 747 aircraft from the Middle Eastern dictatorship of Qatar. And the billions of dollars Donald Trump is making in cryptocurrency ventures and other rackets that he is running during his presidency. Donald Trump knows that all of that apparent corruption could be effectively investigated by congressional committees if and only if Democrats win the House of Representatives this year or win the Senate this year. And to prevent that, Donald Trump has not come up with a new campaign message for Republicans. He has not come up with a new economic policy. He has not reversed his economically crushing illegal and unconstitutional tariffs. Instead, he has seized the voting records of Atlanta voters in Fulton County, Georgia, to set the precedent that he can send the FBI anywhere he wants to seize any voting records, including ballots, at any time. Donald Trump is the first president in history who wants to take the administration of elections away from states and, in effect, count all American ballots cast in every election inside the Trump White House.
These people are criminals. This isn't political persecution. It's not going to be a witch hunt. What we need to rebuild is to not sing Kumbaya and move on and restore the soul of the nation and forget about it and not say Donald Trump's name or Pam Bondi's name or Kash Patel's name. It is not to say, well, maybe Elon should join the Democratic Party and let's take his donations. No, we're not doing that again. It's not going to work. There needs to be real retribution, accountability, and an example made of those who have hurt our country. I know that's a little scary sounding, but that's the only thing that we can do. And anyone not advocating for that doesn't actually care and thinks it's a game. It's not a game. This needs to be taken seriously. We're going to be calling it out. Man, that was intense. But it is intense. It matters on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.